Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Stephanie Richardson, and I am so glad you guys are on our call tonight. Tonight we have a special guest, Kelsey Buttrell. Kelsey and I met each other from her brother and my son play football together. And little did I know that Miss Kelsey is like little Miss social media expert and has she actually runs 18, I think 18 accounts, I think how many Kelsey runs. And so she's going to give us some tips tonight on Instagram. And I told her that we are mostly novices. How many of you guys are total novice and like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing? And then some of you are kind of gaining a little traction. So Kelsey is going to kind of go through like a little training for us to kind of help us get better at Instagram. So I'm not going to talk because no one wants to hear from me. So there's Miss Kelsey, and I'll let you share.
Okay. Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey. I want to go ahead and apologize for my voice. I'm starting to lose it, so I'm sorry for sounding so rough. But yeah, so about a year ago, I've been running like corporate communications for a few companies. And with that, my job included social media. And for the past year, I've been running 4 different Instagram-specific accounts. And then I have 18 programs that I run, but that's Facebook, Twitter, and then we use it for YouTube and stuff like that also. But as of now, I just have 4 Instagram accounts like that are more corporate that I'm running right now to give a little background for me. But okay, so about a year ago, before I launched anything, I wanted to do like pretty thorough research on, what's working, what's not. And so I did research before, and then after like my year's worth of work, I kind of compared my results and found that these like 6 things were definitely true. So I wanted to share it with you guys. The first thing is that I think most of you can relate that information is super key for any post that you're going to make. And this includes geolocations, captions, tags, and I found a correlation between if you're including all 3, you'll gain more likes and comments on your photo. And I know that this can get super tedious. Like you're like, I'm not really sure there was a location here, but go ahead and add it because there's so much content out there, so you have to be putting extra information that you can to make your posts like appear in people's searches. And then the next thing is to be super, super clear. Like if your goal is to, especially on Instagram, this is very different than Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest even. It's like if you want people to click on something, tell them to click on it. Or if you want people to like comment, tell them, hey, comment your ideas. Like it's important to be super clear versus like beating around the bush with it because you really only have one picture to explain what you're trying to talk about. And then some fun like correlations also that I found is that photos with faces get 3 times more likes. So I'm sure most of you with what you're doing, you include photos of like yourself and people around you, which is awesome. And so just keep including people in your posts because that's what you're trying to encourage, and that's what's important. And then also another interesting fact that I found was that desaturated photos, so less super colorful, and like so if you go to editing and you go to your saturation and lower it just a tad, these photos get more likes per post. And then I've also noticed that gray and blues get more likes, and I think it's almost like two times more likes with gray and blues versus warm colors. And then another big question that I get asked a lot is when to post. And I have found that between like lunchtime and dinner time, like 11 to 1 or 7 to 9 p.m., these posts like increase by 10%, which is a pretty big jump when you're trying to determine a simple thing like posting. So these are some very general things to follow that I think would be very helpful, or you can at least take my knowledge of what I've learned, and I wanted to share it with you all. And so now I wanted to give you some fun tips after running a few Instagram accounts for a while, what I have seen has worked for me, and I wanted to share with you guys. So my biggest thing that I absolutely love is using a scheduler. And the scheduler that I use is, I call it Planoly, but I'm sure they pronounce it something else, but it's Planoly. And what's great about this is you can set up your visuals and your grids, and you can see like, oh, this looks really good here, but maybe I want to rearrange it. Or here, can you see my mouse now? But anyways, you can rearrange these photos on here and schedule the time of when you want posted, so you don't have to be live right at 11. Like, oh, like I want to post at lunchtime. You can just schedule it, which is great. And this also includes stories. They let you schedule stories. And this is the only scheduler I have found that doesn't just remind you, it actually schedules it for you, and where you can plan it out and analyze it. And I know talking with Stephanie that a lot of you use links for shopping. Most of the corporations like I run, we don't do sales through Instagram, so it's a little bit different. But a lot of bloggers use this as well, and they find it easy to sync up their links to it. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this, but I highly recommend it. And also, you can get a free account for as long as you want. I ended up paying for mine because it won't upload videos. You have to pay to upload videos, and I use a lot of videos for my content, but I highly recommend at least trying the free trial for it. Basically, I should be their advertiser is basically what I'm saying. But okay, so next thing that I really want to emphasize is do not underestimate the power of a hashtag, especially because I believe it was launched in August. Instagram now has where you can follow hashtags alone, where like, let's say for like my industry, I can follow the hashtag Air Medical, and all of those posts will keep coming up. And so this is something not to be taken lightly. And so I think the biggest thing with it is stay up to date with current trending hashtags. So any hashtag, I used Halloween because that was my latest on my own personal account of what I looked at. And, without looking it up, you wouldn't think to just put Halloween costume had 4 million posts versus just Halloween with the pumpkin, So I think these are important things to, as silly as it sounds, just gain that much exposure. And then I'm not sure if any of you use Twitter, but if you do, I also use that as a huge tool for trending hashtags, even though it's not the exact same software and different people talking. It's good to know kind of what's going on that day or that week, what's getting talked about. And they do a good job because you can hire third parties to look up, trending hashtags like Twitter does, but I have just used Twitter and I've enjoyed it. And then one little trick I wanted to share with you guys that I do for my stories. I'm not sure if any of you have done this yet, but I will hashtag. I kind of try to include an example at the bottom. I'll hashtag what I want on my stories, and then I'll make it super, super small with my fingers and like zooming it in to make it tiny. And once you do that, I usually add about 50 hashtags. And I know that's aggressive, but it goes a long way, and no one knows that I did that. So that is just like one little tip that I like to do. Okay,
can I stop you real quick and ask you a question?
Yes,
so where does it go? Like, is it still there, but you just
can't? Yeah, it's still there. So you just make it super, super small. So see the last one, you can't even see it. So just make it disappear. Like
So if you make it, so like sometimes mine goes away and I'm like, where'd it go? Is it still tagged?
Yes, if you make it that small, it's still tagged.
Okay.
I mean, unless if you delete it on the bottom, don't do that with the garbage can. But
okay.
If you zoom it in so small, it's still there. It's just people can't see it, so they're not like overwhelmed.
Oh, okay, awesome. And you do 50 in one picture?
Yeah, I've done that before. I mean, it's kind of tedious, kind of time consuming, but if you're really trying to push something, I think it's worth it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, sorry.
No, oh my gosh, don't be sorry. But yeah, that's something I really like to do. And yeah, if you make it small enough, it doesn't disappear. You just can't see it. Okay. Next. I know a lot of, basically kind of what Stephanie was telling me is that a lot of you had used Facebook and Twitter in the past, and now you're heading over to Instagram is kind of the background information that I had gotten. And one thing I just want to encourage is like, don't be afraid to promote your Instagram channel on your Facebook and Twitter or previous pages, because I have seen that like each time I do that, I gain like, I think it was like 2% of my followers, but still that's really good. And it's just an increase in followers. So don't be afraid to do that. I do encourage you not to use Instagram to like, you can sync up your Instagram accounts with your Facebook accounts. And so like if you post to Instagram, it automatically posts to Facebook. And I would encourage you not to do that, because it can drain out your messaging. And I have found that doesn't work very well with another account that I did that on, and I would not recommend it. Okay. Moving on.
Do you not do that for stories? Like the story, like, cause I have it like where, I'm sorry, I'm like totally interrupting, but
oh,
like,
no, you're fine.
You have like on my stories, I push it over to Facebook stories, but not the post, like Instagram.
Okay, I definitely think stories are completely fine. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Absolutely. Because they are run the exact same. I just, I think posting, like, you can do your feed and you can post it over, and I would recommend not doing that. Does that?
That was great. Sorry.
Okay, cool. That's sweet. And then one thing that I've seen that's trending really big right now and that I think would be helpful for all of you is to give shout outs to people that have been influencing your life or encouraging you. And it's a way to like, I don't know, just make a bigger network within your Instagram and like tagging them in their posts. And if it's someone, it's just like growing your network. And I think this is a great way to kind of humble yourself, but then also explain even more about yourself of why someone influenced you. And so I've seen this with a lot of bloggers lately, and it's been really successful. And I just included some fun examples that I found. But yeah, that's one thing that's been trending lately. And then another thing that has been really, really popular on Instagram, because I mean, I'm pretty sure if you guys are following a lot of people, it's like every photo is super perfect and gorgeous. And now there's kind of this huge new, I want to say, kind of revival of like behind the scenes, and also like no filter, like hashtag no filter, like all these things of kind of before the big glamour shot happens. Like I know some that are super popular is a lot of fashion bloggers have like these beautiful photos, but every now and then they tell like how they got these photos and like what effects they did and all this to make it happen. So I think you could probably relate that to your personal behind the scenes of if it's like, you know, how you got this strong to be able to do this workout routine, or, you know, the products, like, you know, just a little bit more candid and real content is really trending right now. And I just wanted to encourage that. And then another thing that is brand new, this came out like not too long ago, is the Instagram name tags. And these are very similar, if any of you guys are familiar with Snapchat, with kind of like it's your own personal ID code. And these are pretty great. I recently used this, the MedTrans one, for a conference I was at 2 weeks ago, and I was able just to leave it up on on an iPad, and people were able to like walk by and scan it, and so they immediately followed us once they scanned it from their Instagram account. And this worked really well for me. So I just kind of want to encourage you, if you have any like networking events coming up, possibly just go ahead and creating one. And right now they haven't made it where you can personalize it that well, but I kind of put instructions on how to get there up at the top, but if you go to your profile and then you click the 4 dashes, then the third tab is the name tag. and then you can kind of custom create it, and people can just scan this and they immediately follow you versus finding your name. I mean, it sounds like which is still super easy to do, but this is just a new fun way that's recently been used, and I thought it was pretty successful. And then, this kind of goes in, I kind of just want to talk about this a little bit, is a huge encouragement on providing like laid back content as well. Even with kind of corporate, you see like all these corporate posts, and every now and then it's kind of like a laid back post. I recently was looking at McDonald's, and they have like all these amazing, like well-polished photos. Then they randomly just put one of like this family at McDonald's that I think sent their photo in. And so it's kind of fun to see like where there wasn't a lot of work, behind, kind of like the behind the scenes. This is like a big trending thing. And then another thing I want to encourage is, like, if you haven't done this already, is so I follow like a lot of different like daily calendars where they do a lot of fun things. And so example, like this week it told me it was Genius World Records Day and like Stress Awareness Day. And already just those 2 days alone, you can kind of create some fun posts with that, or interesting posts, or your unique idea. And you automatically know that that day is going to be trending. And so I just wanted to encourage that and explain that's been really helpful for me. And it kind of personalizes you and relates you to everyone, because everyone's celebrating that day. And then, I know that gaining followers is a huge thing that everyone is always constantly like worried about when it comes to Instagram. And so in the past, people have just been liking photos, and a lot of people will follow back. But now with so many different, I hate to say like spam accounts, but kind of spam accounts, just liking photos doesn't really do the trick anymore. At least that's what I've seen. And so I just want to encourage on commenting on people's photos, even if you're not friends with them. But if you find their posts like relatable, or there's something you think you can say that's clever back, go ahead and do that, because it really is like just a community, and you want to gain those followers and kind of create natural relationships from the get-go. And one way I found to find people worth commenting on, I just thought some of you probably already know this, but I just thought I would share, is so if you go to your Instagram and click the heart at the very bottom of the page, you can switch over to following, and you can see who all the people that you follow, what posts they are liking. And then I usually choose a few photos from that and comment just some clever things back. Like, it always doesn't have to be clever. It can be like emojis every now and then, but just super personable. And this has been successful for me, so I thought I would share it with you guys. And then a huge other thing that's trending that I've noticed is facts, frequently asked questions to put on your Instagram highlight. And I think this is something all of you can benefit from. If you ever get a few questions, even just with talking with people, I mean, you can create content, but having a highlight there and answering questions, and like people are knowing, like if they're curious about your business, like there's been this correlation of them just going to facts already to get answers. So if you don't have that section in your highlight, I encourage maybe thinking about doing that. And then, I'm not sure if any of you have used Repost before. I use the app. I use this specific app, Repost. There's a lot of different ones like Regram and stuff like that. I don't think there's a huge difference, but one thing I like about this Repost is you not only can repost in your feed, but you can also repost in your story, which I highly encourage, because then you don't get your feed with a bunch of stuff that isn't yours. But it's kind of that idea of giving people a shout out once again, is like using this Repost app to, sorry, my phone keeps going off. Using this Repost app to give a shout out is like, people love seeing their stuff being reposted. So if you see something that you like, you can use this app to repost it to your story. It's pretty simple. You have to go to the actual like feed post and click the 3 dots above the feed and then just copy link. And then you open the repost app and you just paste the URL, and then repost gives you step-by-step instructions on what to do next. But when you open Instagram back up, you choose story versus feed, and then it just reposts right to your story, which is pretty cool. And like you can choose whether it says repost or not, but I think this is a great tool to use if you're not tagged in something and want to share it. Because now if you're tagged in it, you can share it pretty easily on your Instagram stories, but with this tool, it's pretty nice. I've used it quite a bit, so I thought I would share that. And then that was about all the random little fun tips I had for you guys. Sorry, I feel like I spoke super fast, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I think that's so helpful. Okay, so y'all go ahead and put your questions, if y'all have any questions, in the chat area, so Kelsey can answer those questions for you. But I know that a lot of people are are looking for people, and so a lot of that you were talking about, app, like, is there an app for popular hashtags that you found? How are you finding your followers? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so for popular hashtags, there's a lot of apps you can use, but you have to pay for them. And I haven't found a need to pay for that yet because, Instagram tells you how many followers are on each hashtag. So sometimes you kind of have to do the work for it. But if you're talking about a specific topic, like let's say it's a motivation, you can hashtag motivation, and then you see like they'll list the top hashtag with the most views. And then again, I use Twitter to see like what's trending like of that day. And then did that answer that question?
So then how do you, so that's how you find your hashtags, and then how are you finding people to like follow or comment and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, again, it kind of goes with, I follow a lot of hashtags that are like popular within my industry. And you can like click to follow just that hashtag, which is nice. And then that brings up a lot of posts. And then when I see a post that's relevant, I immediately go to it and either comment on it, or if I think I should follow the person, I follow that person. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And then again, with kind of that liking, you can see who you're following, what posts they are liking, which is also, I think, super valid because it's usually pretty industry related. And so I use that a lot to find people as well.
So that was where you said you go here to the heart and you can see what other people, isn't that
what you're following is liking? Yes.
Okay, but mine, okay, hi. Because it goes you or following. That's a little trick that so that's the following at the top.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So change it from you to following.
I usually just do you, but then you go to following right there. If you are way smarter than me, but whatever. So the people that follow you, you can go to other posts and see what they're liking, and then you can kind of find people that way. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. But these are people that you are following, not who's following you.
Right.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is, and they'll show also who also they're not just liking, but also who they're following. And I use this all the time. I look at this like every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Some of the people were asking, like, and this is a great question. But so, okay. So when you said not to connect your Instagram and Facebook, we should not do the same thing on both. That's what you were saying, right?
Mm-hmm. I just found that it was unsuccessful for me because it dilutes down my Instagram content. And then also you're not using the tools that Facebook allows you to with because it is a lot easier just to post on both, but all the geotagging and stuff like that isn't incorporated over. So you're losing that effect and the tags and everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so I take off, like, hashtags don't apply on Facebook and stuff like that too. So you really don't need those as well, right?
Yeah. So I had found it was kind of hurting both my content when I did that.
Okay. Someone said, do you think there's a YouTube video called Instagram for Dummies at 54 years of age? This is all great to me. I'm sure there's a ton of YouTubes that are out there for sure.
Yes. YouTube videos are great.
So someone else said, is there an app like Planoly that works without an internet connection? I need an offline planner. Flight attendant life. That's funny. Do you know of any other internet?
I haven't used one, but I would suggest that would be probably so I haven't looked.
Look up. I have one called Preview that I have that you might be able to look up. That one might work. I don't know. Preview.
Yeah, I haven't used one, but I can look into it.
Okay, yeah. Ashlyn says, I usually post the picture I put on Instagram on Facebook the next day because I have a lot of people who do not have Instagram or Facebook.
Yes, which I think I just want to, like, if you're doing that, that is totally fine. I think the same content is absolutely fine. Just you lose a lot of, like, the personal touches when you just make it go to, sorry, my throat is like dying. When you just make it go to both.
And I think what you're saying, and Facebook, what Facebook wants is totally different than what Instagram wants. You know?
Right.
Thing too, like it just kind of comes across as lazy, I think, too. And like what people on Facebook are looking for is different than what people on Instagram are looking for, right? Yes. Whereas, so that is, so that is a good question. Okay, so I'm going to go through here. That was a lot of them are asking. Change the color of the text to blend in. I love that little, like, it making it small and hashtagging all those things. I didn't know. And besides hashtags and the follow section on Instagram, any other suggestions on following more people? Actually following more people or finding more people? Oh, that's my question. Finding more people.
Yeah, so hashtags that, and then I use a lot of locations, but again, I don't know if that would work with you guys necessarily. Maybe if you have like a headquarters and people are posting, or because we have a lot, for example, one of the companies I work for, we have like 50 bases across the US. So I keep tabs on those bases. And anytime someone's checked in, I go and comment and like on their posts. And I usually gain that follow, which is really nice. But I don't know if that relates to you guys. Would something like that work? Like a certain location?
Well, you could look for people that live in your area, or you could look, I know my friend, she lives in Toledo, but then she also puts things in Dayton, because it's close by or whatever. So, you can look at different areas. So when I do Facebook, I am looking for towns in the South because they seem to kind of like big cities, and in the South because those kind of people tend to be like more like my niche, I guess. Gotcha. So you could, kind of go towards that, I guess.
Yeah, because Instagram is really nice when they just let you search based on places, and then you click a place and all the top posts are like directly connected to that place. So that's like a great tool that I use too to find people. But I don't know again, maybe if you have a target location.
This is a good question. Like, how do you avoid following the same exact people? I feel like a lot of people, popular hashtags are already so saturated, followed by all of us Beachbody coaches. And that's probably a good thing for you because you work for different companies that are similar, right?
Right.
The companies that you work for are all similar. So how do you separate that?
Do you mean like overlapping? You can only like, do you mean overlapping like with each other?
Like, yeah. So like I think what she's saying is like I'm following the same people that Susie's following. We're all kind of following the same people. So we're kind of going after, or, trying to get to know the same people. Like, how do you kind of,
Differentiate?
how do we follow this, different people so that we,
Well, again, with like the industries, you're creating this kind of like network community within Instagram. So I know with mine, like personally, like it hasn't been a problem if we follow kind of the same people, but I get that if you're selling kind of the exact same product, like how do you branch out? Is that kind of...
Yeah. And Ashley posted in here, she said she follows things that she likes that are specific to her. So things like ice cream, peanut butter, Jesus, praying, Marshall. So like she finds specific. So then you're not like, everyone's doing mom and everyone's doing fitness and everyone's doing whatever, but she finds things that she's like into, and that's something that kind of separates you. And I think we get kind of lazy and just like going, okay, fitness, mom, whatever, but we don't think of like other things we like, so actually that's great. Like ice cream and I'm sure yours is different, what you're hashtagging or, things that you're trying to find. So
yeah, absolutely. And then also, kind of going off of that, you can go to people that are like kind of y'all's competitors and see what they're hashtagging to see if there's any differentiating ones, and then that's something else, because I do that too.
You go to like your competitors and you see what they're hashtagging and see. That's interesting.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely finding your niche and your favorite things and things that you talk about that are different than everyone else, absolutely tap into that.
Yeah. And I think that's where we are like, okay, I'm running into the same people. Yeah, because we're, just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it is, you are creating like kind of like a network, and you will overlap, but I think that's also a good thing because you guys can just help, it's just boosting each other.
So do you feel like commenting is better? Obviously you said commenting is better than liking. So do you do like engaging comments, or do you feel like just any kind of comment is?
I think, well, first, commenting over liking, just because with all the new where you can pay for things, people are realizing the likes aren't actually coming from you anymore. And so I think for comments, if you can do it very personal to that post, like, for example, if it was the ice cream post, you could put like, let's say it was vanilla, and you're like, oh, I like vanilla, but chocolate's my favorite. Just something very personal to that specific post. It doesn't have to be personal necessarily to them, but that way they know also if you just put great photo, that's also doesn't seem very personable either. But emojis also work great for me all the time, even if it's just
comment in emojis. That's still good.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain amount of I heard one time like you had to have like 3 emojis or something in order for or something random like that.
I think 3 is just like aesthetically pleasing to a lot of people, and it gets the message across. But I mean, 1 or 2 is fine. I wouldn't do like.
Have you heard that before? That was like 2 years ago, so it was so like 2016. But yeah, I had heard that like that it doesn't count unless it's like a certain amount or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't done research on that yet, but maybe I should.
Yeah. So, this is great, Tara. Hashtag in the caption or in the comments. That I heard. They keep going back and forth. Hashtags in the comment, hashtags in the actual caption.
Yeah. See, I think it's one of those things. If you get enough comments on your photos, you can make your own commenting hashtags blend in. But if you get 1 comments per page, I would just put it in your caption.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I use a thing called display purposes for my captions. Have you ever heard of that?
And is that the one that like separates it?
Yeah. Have you ever used that before?
Yeah, that's also a great tool. I used to use that all the time. And recently I've been using like very specific hashtags, so I haven't needed it really. Like the hashtags more tell the story. Sometimes I want them in the caption, if that makes sense. But yeah, but that's also a great tool to make that separation.
That's so good. So yes, Liz is saying, I see people using those emojis all the time. Do you write down and keep a list of people that you're commenting on to follow up with, potentially to ask to be a part of your trial? Like, is that something that you, I mean, do you keep a list of that, or are you doing it so fast that you really don't have to?
Yeah, I haven't used the whole system, but again, I also haven't, at least not yet, ran an Instagram account where, I'm selling a specific product and need to like follow up.
Right.
But I would say if you are trying to like create engaged conversation like that, I would do that with direct messaging, because that's easier to keep tabs on. That would just be, because the only way I can relate that to is with a huge tool that I use Instagram for is like for hiring. And so how to follow up with people is when I know who I've messaged. So that's a little bit easier. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but that's what I do.
Yeah, that is. And what is your goal in the ones that you're working? What is your goal? Like just to kind of increase like their.
Yeah. So one of it is just extending the digital brand and like capturing our culture through Instagram, and while also again, another thing is and mainly that's for getting new hires. So it's kind of like a big HR reason that I do it, but it's definitely like just an extension of brand. And I think you guys know this, when you look up anything, you now look it up on social media before even going to the website. And so you have to get ahead of it and have your story out there. So that's the main purpose of what I do.
Oh, that's so interesting. That is super. Yeah. So you're kind of creating a brand. So it's not necessarily like you're creating a culture and a brand within Instagram or whatever social media. That's really cool. Do you recommend having more than one IG account?
For what? Okay. It really depends. Like for example, like a corporation, I would not split that up. But if you're selling two different things, then yeah, I don't see a harm in that at all. And especially, for example, like if you wanted to create like your own ice cream account, then maybe you should. But if it's for one specific kind of goal, I wouldn't see the need to break that up.
Do you, what do you know about IG's direct app?
I haven't used it, so I can't really speak on it.
Okay. Someone said that they tried it directed them to download it today, but it says it wasn't available in their area. So, let me see. What else? What other questions do you guys have? I think this is so helpful because I think it's interesting to see like how, you're building a brand, like on social media. And so are you really, really like, do you have like you said, like colors, like, so when you take pictures, you know what you're looking for in a picture and stuff like that?
Yes. Also it's Photoshop.
So Photoshop is your friend. So Photoshop, like as far as like Lightroom, like that kind of thing where it does like filters on it and stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, that is definitely like part of like just my schooling. I've kind of, I'm like pretty good at all the Adobe products. That's just what I've learned on, but anyone can, I mean, now there's so many amazing apps, you don't even need it, but I taught myself on that and I'm so quick at it. So that's what I use. But it's nice because you can make any color calm down and any color pop. And so, so Photoshop's like my best friend kind of.
Yeah. So if y'all don't know, there's another for us, like not as smart people. There's also Lightroom, and you can also go to Etsy and you can buy, what are they called? They're not called filters. What are they called? filters, basically, right? They're presets. They're called presets.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy mobile presets and put them on your phone. And they can kind of, if you've ever looked at someone's picture on Instagram, you're like, all their pictures look the same. Like they all have the same colors and blah, blah, blah. It's because of their editing. And they, use something like that. So
yeah, definitely picking out filters and creating kind of a theme is so important. Unfortunately, it just really is.
Is that as important on stories?
No, I don't think so. I do it for my corporate ones, but I think for like personal, like for example, like my sisters that I run, I don't ever put filters on the stories.
Oh, do you run your sister's account too?
Mm-hmm, I do.
Oh, we need to all follow her. What is her Instagram?
Oh yeah, that'd be more than fine.
Okay,
Royce Music.
Okay, what is it?
It's ROYSE Music.
Okay, everyone, follow her right now. Right now. So she is. Sometimes I open my mouth in a melodic way. How fun! So she's working on her. So tell a little bit about what you're doing for her, because I think this is kind of in line what we're doing, right? Because you're trying to sell, like get exposure for her and set up her brand and stuff like that. So tell a little bit about that.
Right. So my sister is a singer, and she recently released her first single. So that was like her own track where she worked with the label and everything, but she's been singing forever. But since she decided to work with a label, she kind of brought me on to help her. And so now I run her social media. And her second release is this Friday. So a huge thing that I use social media for her is to kind of help get the message out and everything. And I like to do a lot of interactive stuff, and it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun working with her on this. But yeah, so for her recently, I've been using a lot of grids, which I make with the Planolly. I never can say it right. But with that, yeah, so that's a great for grid making. And yeah, so I've been using that. And then
are you using hype type? Are you using hype type, or what are you using for like or you're just using, like, you're not using any, you're using what the things that Instagram gives you?
I'm sorry,
like
I don't understand.
It looks like you're using GIFs and stuff like that. And
oh yeah, for the stories?
Yeah.
Oh yes, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, all the time. And then a lot of her stories I have her do because it has to be authentic to her. Like I don't want to control all of that.
So you add some stuff every once in a while into her stories.
Yes. Or I'll tell her you need to take that down because it's not good.
Sometimes you need a sister to tell you that. Maybe everyone on this call needs to have a sister, that will like say that picture is not flattering. You need to take that down. You need to smile. You need to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not kidding. Like you probably need someone in your life that is like that, right? That can be honest, like say that picture of food looks disgusting. Like take it down. I'm not kidding, because that is so true. Like we need those sisters in our life that say like, that is not like attractive. Like people are not going to follow you if you keep posting gross food, or you don't have sister check. Yes. We all need a sister check. Yes. And beach body coaches, we would be told to take our sweaty selfies down all the time.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that brings a really good point, is that, sometimes you guys, I really want to encourage you all to find a sister, have a sister check, and, just say, okay, watch my stories. What do you think I can improve on? And ask that person to be authentic, like to be, honest, and you take it as that your sister wants you to be best, right? She wants you to be the best. She wants to encourage you. She wants you to grow and do that. I think that's super important. I think that brings up a really, really great thing. So yes, she has 16.6 thousand followers thanks to her sister.
Boom. No, she's got a lot of talent though too. It helps.
So good. Yes. Positive feedback is so good. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Do y'all have any other questions? She's going to be like, oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much for helping us. Like these are such good tips. And I know I'm so excited it's recorded so you guys can go back and, oh wait, hold on a second. When it comes to followers, about how many a day or so would you say your hashtags and comments, and what is not being successful? Wait. So when it comes to followers, about how many a day or would you say, oh, gaining followers. How are you gaining followers? Is it from your hashtags or your comments?
I would say it's a big mixture of both. I don't have the exact data on it exactly. I think the closest thing I can find is like what posts gain me the most followers, but I haven't done something to correlate commenting to following. But anytime I do a heavy comment, like for example, I do certain weeks where I really push that because I have an awesome intern that does that, and then I get the stats back and they always improve a lot when she comments each week.
So comments is huge. And so it said like, so how many followers should you be gaining? Like, do you think it's like a normal pace?
Oh man, it is so dependent on you and what you're doing, because like, for example, just even with my own accounts, gaining 2 for one specific account is a huge deal. It's a bigger deal than my like 10 that I gained for something else. So that's kind of hard.
Quality over quantity when it's your personal account?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because you want people following you that are interested, and also like you don't want a bunch of spam accounts following you, which they can easily when it's just programmed. So,
right.
Oh man, I just think increasing your followers is a good thing, and you should appreciate each follower you get. I really do.
Not be stressed out with a number or whatever.
Yeah.
So just gaining anything is positive. And then there was someone asked if you comment, does it push out your post more? Is that what happens, or is that person just?
Well, do you mean like if you comment on someone else's or your own?
So like in Facebook, like you can see like Susie commented on this post, and so it comes out, because you may not know that person, but since Susie commented on it, it's pushing it out more. So I'm guessing.
Yeah. So on your following tab, you can find that on there, and then I'm pretty sure too. Oh, another thing that I didn't talk about is when people comment on your post, it's always good to reply, because it makes your posts higher up in the top for like, when you go to like trending hashtags, they take comments into consideration. And so it's good to comment back on like, even if someone just puts a heart, just maybe reply with a heart back, and then that gives you more comments. Does that make sense?
Right. So definitely. And you should do that for Facebook too. If people comment, make sure you comment back, comment on their photo. I mean, commenting is like so important. Even in Facebook, like you commenting on other people, like she said, likes don't get it for us anymore, right? Commenting.
And that used to work, yeah.
It used to work, but it doesn't. And commenting, like you said, it like legitimate things, that like, not like you're not really paying attention to someone's post, like you're really commenting something that had thought is really important. So
right.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, you guys rock. Thank you so much for being on the call. I hope your voice gets better.
Sorry.
You just have a couple days to get better before we sit out in the elements and watch football. So I took a lot of notes. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome. I hope it was helpful, and a lot of these tips work for you guys.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, Royce, her next LP, is that what you call it?
Or her next single
drops on the night. So check that out. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, bye.